Hi guys, welcome back to the channel. If you are new here, my name is Yvonne and you have landed on Ginger Chick Rehab, where I love to take pre-loved secondhand finds and share with you the process of what I would do to them. Whether it's painting, whether it's repairing, fixing, restoration, or whether it's grouping things together and making beautiful home decor. So here are the treasures I will be working with today. Now some may look at them like treasures like I do, and others might just look at these as a pile of junk that needs to go to the dump. So let's see if I can create beautiful home decor using these pieces. I'm going to go ahead and start off with this amazing box. Look at that one board, that patina, that crackling paint. I love everything about it, but the wire is sticking out of the top, and then it has this sign that is stuck on there, but I think I can take the sign off. I think it's just wired on there. So I think I'd like to reuse this sign. I know that it's like a pressed board. It's not an MDF board, it's a board, and it is slightly warped, but I think it would be nice to put another little sign back in here, just changing out the wording. Yes, it is slightly warped, and I'm not going to try to sand it down so it's flat. That's not going to work. All I'm going to do is sand it just to get some of the wording that might be raised on, so whatever I decide to put on there, you won't see the wording underneath. But because of it being tucked underneath in that box, I don't think you'll really notice too much that it's warped. So I'm sure its original purpose was to be used. It wasn't to be a pretty decor piece, and I'm not sure if anybody really got hurt by these little wires hanging out or not. But I'm going to go ahead and cut those down flush because they are a little bit on the sharp side, and then I will take a hammer and hammer them so they're a little bit more indented into the wood. And then part of cleaning out this is there is a little bit of gunk in between the wood slats of the back and the wood slats of the front and the wires. So I'm seeing if I take the air compressor, if I can blow them out, but I might have to take a picking tool and get the rest of them out. So now I'm going to repaint this little board to create a sign out of it. I'm just going to use Sweet Pickins milk paint in the lantern color. That should cover everything up, and it should go with the design that I have in my head at the end. But when I go to paint this, I'm going to do both sides of this because though you can hang it on the wall, somebody could also just set it on a shelf, set it on an end table. So I want to make sure that both sides are just as pretty and painted over. So I have some decor pieces that I have been laying around, and they kind of are school themed. So I thought the sign would be perfect to just a simple basic font and then to type out schoolhouse. So I was going to go ahead and use my Cricut to make a stencil. I was going to see if Cricut itself had any designs for schoolhouse. But as you see, they just have a schoolhouse or just the word school. I was really going for schoolhouse, but it's always fun to check to see what designs they have. So I'm just going for a basic font, nothing too fancy. So I'll just go ahead and type it out and then size it to that board. So now I needed to remember to put my stencil on the right way so that I didn't have to drill new holes when I go to hang it. But I didn't seal my milk paint in, which is okay because once I go to remove that stencil and the tape that I'm putting on, it'll probably take some of the paint off, but that's okay because I want it to kind of look old and worn to go with the box. But I'm just taping off the outer edges because it's easier for me to cut close to my image, my wording. That way when I put my transfer tape on, I can really get it square and level, and it helps just apply it a little bit better with the transfer tape that is square. So now I'm just using Fusion's parchment color for the paint color, just doing the dabbing or the dry technique where I have just a little bit of paint on that makeup sponge from the Dollar Tree store, and I'm only going to go over it one time. I don't want this to look like a nice crisp I just made sign. Is that my hope anyway? The tape and where I removed the vinyl took off more of the paint. So I'm just going to go back around with some masking tape, and then I'm just really going to rub it on so there doesn't look like there's an outer frame that you can tell that I pulled away some other material to give it that box look. So this seems to be working out just fine. And I really love the look of the black, but the white now is still a little too bright. I don't want it to be quite that noticeable. So I'm going to go in with some of the Fusion's aging wax. I thought this would be dark enough, but as I'm putting it on, I'm like, I don't know. I really wanted that white to be a little bit more aged. So then I just went ahead, right while that wax was still wet, I just went in with some Waverly Antiquing wax, and that achieved the color I was looking for. Sometimes you just have to test them out and see which one works better. And then though I tried to pull off, like with some tape, some of the wording, the Fusion's paint was on there. it has its top coat in there. So I want to give the wording, the lettering some more age, so I'm just scuffing it up with some more sandpaper. I'm going to put the sign back on there just the way that they did it before, but I'm going to change out my wire for a fresh piece of wire that isn't quite as bent up as the other one, though I'm sure it's rusty crusty that I'll probably keep it for another project. So I just have some 17 gauge wire that I get at the hardware store, and I love that it has that black patina color to it. So I'm just going to put the sign in the inside. I'm going to flip it over. I'm going to run the wire in from the back, and then I'm going to try to pull it as tight as I can, clipping off some of the extra wire, and then I'll just twist the ends on the front side of the wire down to hold it in place. Here was my inspiration, this beautiful old slate chalkboard. Oh, it is gorgeous. And it was like the right fit. If I put that sign back in there, I could set it off like tilted this way, and it was perfect. And then look at this. Colored chalk in an old, and it still has colored chalk in it. The wording was awesome, so I had to keep that simple font also. And then a little eraser to go with the slate board. Love it. But I do need something on that side. So now I'm going into my stash, and I have these old-timey edition cards, and I thought, there we go. The patina of that matches the patina of the wood on the slate board. But I want to add a little bit of floral. So I need a vase. And why not use a old doorknob though? I love that patina on the doorknob covers itself. I'm just going to be using the doorknob. So luckily it's just a simple unscrew that flathead screw, and now I have a cute little vase. Look at, and it even has a flat bottom because sometimes they don't always sit. So I ordered some dried baby breath off of Amazon, and I wasn't sure I was going to like it at first because it was all smashed in a box. But after doing some fluffing, I think it turned out beautiful. So that's like the perfect little addition that it needed some bright color to go with the older paint on the top. So yes, I just had to fluff it. But it fits in that doorknob perfectly. Look at that cute little vase it is made. Okay, who thinks this one is just too far gone? Would you just pass it up, thrown it in the recycle bin and called it good? Or would you have seen the beauty in it like I do? Because I'm a Rusty Crusty fan. I love it. The wood, the metal, even the broom handle. So I want to use it as a shelf that you can hang on the wall. Can you envision it? So I'm going to need to drill some holes in it and put some wire in it to give it something to hang off. So the Rusty Krusty's really only on the one side. The back, the galvanized metal is still there. So it's still pretty solid. It's stronger than you think. So I'm going to go ahead and flip it over and then use a ruler, just trying to mark off from the side, like how close in, how far in I'm going to go, about an inch off the side, because I want to try to pull the wire as tight as I possibly can. I don't think like a little picture hanger would have done it justice. It is, I mean, it's not heavy, but it is a little bit heavier, but I really wanted something secure to go through that wire. And you can just drill through metal. It takes a little pressure and a little, like, once it starts to bite in, you can do it a couple times, it'll slip here and there, but it does go through. I had to sneak a test. I wanted to see what it was going to look like and how, oh my gosh, how level it hangs. I have all that rusty crusty goodness, and I just put some newer black wire in there. So all I'm going to do is take some of this gilding wax that is in the rust color and just brush it on that black so that your eye's not drawn to that black wire that I pulled through and twisted it for its hanger. So to me, I think it's pretty obvious that this looks like a broom handle. And it's yellow, so I'm going to go more of a neutral. I'm going to use some more of that Sweet Pickins milk paint in the soup case color, which is a beautiful brown suede color. So that, yeah, I didn't really want this to necessarily look like it was a broom handle, though it tells a cool story. It's not in my final design. Really just trying to cover up the yellow. I don't need it to be complete coverage because I don't want it to look like it's a freshly painted piece of wood. I just want to cover up the broom handle-y yellow. Did mix up my batch of paint a little bit on the thicker side because I didn't want it to like just run right off or anything like that. So it's a little bit on the lumpy side, which is perfectly fine for what I'm doing. So I'm just taking some 220 sandpaper and making sure that everything is smoothed down. And then I'll just seal this in using some of the aging wax by Fusion, which is just going to deepen up and really bring that beautiful brown color out. It's just gorgeous. Probably won't do too much to the wood, but it'll just, at least it won't look like a broom handle anymore. So since this scoop was probably a green scoop, I thought it was perfect for this little primitive chicken that I ran across. Is that not too sweet? So then I have a little rusty pie tin, tart tin, that I'm going to put another grungy candle in, and I actually resell these in my retail booth. When you sell items like this, it's just nice to have candles on hand. Yeah, I love the grungy candles. And then we're going to add some more of the baby's breath, that dried baby's breath. And there again, you got to fluff it out. At first, I was really disappointed, and I was actually going to return it to Amazon because it just came so squished. Not really sure if I'm putting 2 in here, but I felt the need to show you how squished they were. So there were 10 of them in a little box, and they were squished like this. And I'm like, oh, now what am I going to do? So if I just ever so gingerly pull on the stems, and some of it does deadhead some of them, and I had a whole bunch on the floor, but enough were left that it was still pretty. I really wasn't sure. It's hard. That's the thing about dried flowers is they're so delicate. I feel like my grungy candle just fades into the background. We're not popping that little baby chick out too awful much, so I want to add some kind of lightness. I thought maybe one of these old cards that I had, but I wasn't in love with that. And then I thought I'm always a go-to for some music paper. That's for sure. So I have these ones that have been copied and been binded, and I'm like, yes, I need that. I don't need the whole sheet, and I don't need it to be just quite as white. So aging this is so super simple. Instant coffee. Just have instant coffee on hand in your craft supplies. So all I'm going to do is take a Mr. bottle, wet my paper down until it is saturated and good and wet, and then I will just start sprinkling instant coffee, and the instant coffee will start to melt with the water and then become one. Oh my goodness, it's just a wonderful way to patina a piece of paper. Even fabric, the drop cloth linen does wonderful with this technique too. Now, if you're an impatient person like I am and you want to get your decor done and you want it to be dry and you want to be able to use it, I'm just going to slightly just set a paper towel on there, soak up some of that water, soak up some of the instant coffee, make sure that I'm just pressing downward, not rubbing, just downward to get those lumps of instant coffee off and to get the excess water off. And then now I don't want it to look like this pristine piece of paper. I want to make it look like it's a salvage piece. So while the paper's still wet, I'm going to ever so gingerly rip the edges of the paper, especially right where the punched holes were. And I don't need the whole sheet of paper. I only need about 3/4 to fill that space. So I'll go ahead and rip that off too. But I'm going to go very gingerly around my wording. I want to keep the old rugged cross title at the top. And I know you all are so kind all the time and say I seem to have a lot of patience, but sometimes I don't. But if there's a way that I could help something along, like the heat gun or, a fan to dry something, or like this parchment paper and my little mini press to help dry that paper so that I can use it. saw this can at a recent auction, my mind just went spinning. I was like, oh, I know what I want to do with that can if I win the bid. Win the bid. So yeah, that's the thing. It was just like an estate sale. Am I going to get my hands on that first, or a garage sale? Am I going to get to that first? When you spy something, you're like, am I going to win the bid? Because, you know, there's only a certain amount of money you want to spend on something, and somebody else might want to spend even more. So I was glad that I got my hands onto it. So it needs a little bit of cleaning. So just some Dawn dish soap and some hot water. But here's why I wanted it. I have all these green-handled kitchen tools that I thought, I know it's not an exact match. Even the green handles from Green Handle is an exact match, but it is a shortening container. So perfect for your kitchen, so perfect for kitchen tools. Oh, I love it. I do a lot of like these in like sifters, but I really love that I could do one in a tin. Though I have to figure out how to rearrange it all to like not just throw it in there. Of course I want to make it pretty decor and make them all nice and tight so they don't move out every time. Like, but you know, so you have to play a little bit. So I love Dollar Tree floral foam because it can squish in there. You can cut it down to the size that you need, and that things are not movable. So it's just like a play game of adjusting, like how everything will sit the best, like the weight distribute, because my heavy two pieces are this meat tenderizer and of course the egg beater are my biggest two heaviest pieces, so I need to coordinate those so they're not just tipping over this can. And then sometimes, yes, you can actually overstuff it that you're not even seeing the quality of what's in the can. So I think the scoop spoon is not going to be able to stay because it's covering up all the other green handled items. But I wanted that extra butter scoop to be in there to go with the wood feature of the meat tenderizer. And then to cover up the floral foam, I'm just going to use some of this baby grass. I think it'll be a nice coordinating color. Like, I didn't want to do like a real greenish stem because of course that would take away from and you wouldn't see the green handles. That's the whole point of this little display, is those green handles. So yeah, just cutting the stems down and putting them in there to cover up that green floral foam from the Dollar Tree. Yeah, so really one stem is enough. Once you cut it off the original stem, you can tweak it in there, you can squish it down, you can cut a little bit off, but I want you to see those green handles. So even on the back, I don't, you know, because this could just be sitting on somebody's table. You don't want to forget behind and get the back also. So unfortunately, the scoop didn't make the cut, but I did when I was in. I'm like, I really want a little more metal because you're seeing a lot of that wood. So I had one of the graters, and I'm like, oh, but look at this one. It's like, okay, that egg beater was just crying for something to be hanging off of it, so that little grater fit perfectly. And then I have some old-timey words. It was just a card deck that I got at an auction that just has wording on it. So I was kind of looking for some kind of a food item, kitchen related, which is perfect because it's avocado. Avocados are green. And then an old little, really little clothespin. And then I'll kind of figure out some way of how to stick it on there. That it just needed one more light feature in there to coordinate like the set of 3 light features with the butter scoop, the wood on the meat tenderizer. It just all coordinates. And I wanted to add a little bit more of that metal, and I found a green handled cookie cutter. Yes. In a very recent video, like days ago, I had already done some cheese box bottoms, but this is a smaller cheese box bottom, and I had this idea, since I'm going off that green theme that we just saw, I want to paint this green. Oh, I think it'll be beautiful. The lid never came with this one when I purchased it. It was just the bottom. So I'm going to mix up Sweet Pickins milk paint in the Basil and Pantry Door, and I'm going to do equal parts. And we'll see what color this becomes. I did not pre-sand this box. This box is really dry, so it just soaked that milk paint right in. So I'm just going to take my Orbital sander with 220 sandpaper and just let it go to town. Whatever comes off comes off. I want it to look old and like this paint has been on there for a long time. You really don't get that true color of the milk paint until you add whatever waxes you're going to do or whatever top coat you're going to finish it off with. And I love the black wax because I really like the age that it gives it. And so then I'm going to just brush on the black wax, and then I have some of the clear wax, Homestead's clear wax, to rub it in, because at first it just kind of looks like a hot mess, but once you rub it in with that clear wax, oh, we will see this beautiful color. Love the thought of these cheese box bottoms being trays to hold your home decor. Now, I picked up these candlesticks this summer, though I love the wood, but I think it's the black tops that just are not appealing to me. But I don't want to paint over the beautiful wood. They're well made. So that was a hard decision, so they kind of just sat there, because usually I'd paint up candlesticks and I'd get them right in my booth, but I just wasn't inspired to paint these. It was just that black top, and I didn't want to put one of my pieces of wood on there because I just don't think that wood would go with that wood. And anyway, so this was my fix. I finally had an inspiration, and I'm like, you know what? Why don't I just use some of the Dixie Belle's Patina paint to tone down that really black, which is what's drawing your eyes to these candlesticks. You're not even noticing that beautiful carved wood because the black is just so overpowering. So I'm just using a little bit of the Dixie Belle's iron paint, and then I use a well-loved stencil brush from the Dollar Tree store that's all flared out, and I do a tapping motion because rust, I'm doing a rusting on these, isn't like a flat surface. It's always raised and bumpy. And then while my paint is still wet, I don't feel the need to tape anything off because it's not painted. So the Patina spray, which I'm using the green to make the brown ready rust, I'm just misting right on top of these. Within minutes, you can see it start to work its magic. But when you see wetness, just leave it alone and let it dry, because this is what it turns into. I just absolutely love it. So I'm going to go ahead and seal it in with some Weather Defense Clear Coat Spray. how that goes when you get inspiration. Like I got inspiration for the green can. I'm like, but I know I have red-handled kitchen tools too, and I have this A&P coffee that's red, though it's a little bit on the shorter side, so we'll see what I have in my stash that I could fill this one up with. And yeah, I have quite a stash, y'all. I can't help myself. I am a gatherer and a picker for sure. Just went into my stash and saw what I thought would pair well together, what was on the shorter side that would do this little can justice, like this little tart tin. It may even be a child's one, I'm not sure, but it's very cute and it's got some age to go with the aged metal. So that floral foam the Dollar Tree store comes in very handy because you can actually insert some of the tools into it and it keeps them in place. But I really want you to be able to see that red handle. I was looking for woods that were similar in color with the little kid's rolling pin and that little masher and the aged metal. So I'm going to add some greenery to this, but I'm going to brighten up my greenery. So I have some of this baby grass, I think it was called also, stem, which is much fluffier. But the green on this one will really pop that red. Felt like I had a void in the back, so I'm going to go ahead and add this little kid's egg beater. And though it's not quite the patina metal I would like it to match, but it's going to be sticking far enough down that it's really that little red accent and that height that I need in that space. Of course, I would have liked some red fruit thing on one of the cards because I had a little red clothespin, which goes perfectly. Now trying to figure out how to attach it, I'll figure that out. But I thought I liked the age of that paper and the little clothespin. I think it just ties it all together. Thank you so much for watching today's video, and what did you think? I love to share my thought process, my how, why, not just grouping things together and making decor, but fixing them, making them a little bit better, changing them out. Like the search and the hunt of always like gathering like the school supplies and the green handled tools, and then I finally found that tin. I'm like, inspiration was just flowing and I needed to get that done. So give me a quick comment down below. Have I inspired you to look at secondhand finds in a new way? And are you a gatherer like me? Like you gather multiple items and you finally have enough to create with? That is always an awesome feeling. And most of these will be on my eBay store, up for an auction if you are interested in bidding on any of them. So thanks again for watching today's video, and as always, if you're part of our YouTube family, thank you so much. And if you're new and you're checking out this content for the first time and you liked what you saw, please hit that subscription button along with the notification bell so you know we uploaded a new video. And we will see you next time, guys, and you can see what we're up to. Bye.